Welcome to my channel. Subscribe and enjoy my new stories every day. It was a Friday evening unlike any other, or so I thought as I turned the key in the lock of our suburban home, the home I shared with Betty, my wife of 7 years. The day had been long, and the boss had let us out early, a twist of fate that brought me to our doorstep sooner than usual. As I stepped inside, a faint but distinct scent tickled my nostrils. It wasn't mine, and it certainly wasn't Betty's usual floral perfume. This was something different, musky, bold, and intrusively male. I paused, the air hanging heavy with a fragrance that didn't belong. "Betty?" My voice echoed slightly in the empty hallway. No answer. The house was silent except for the soft hum of the refrigerator and the distant chirp of birds outside. My heart thumped a warning as I hung my coat. This scent was becoming a familiar unwanted guest, especially on Fridays. Today, I'd find out why. Moving silently up the stairs, the muted sounds of a bass-heavy song grew louder with each step. It was coming from our bedroom, the door slightly ajar, a sliver of light cutting through the dimness of the corridor. I pushed the door, and time slowed. There she was, Betty, less clothed than I'd ever seen her outside our own intimate moments, her back arched in passion. Beneath her, like a scene ripped from a nightmare, was Tom, a coworker she'd often mentioned in passing, his hands firmly on her hips. Their eyes wide with shock, they froze, as if such an act could be paused, rewound, and erased. Betty's face crumpled into an expression of horror and shame. "James, How long, Betty?" My voice was a growl, low and tinged with betrayal. "It's not what it looks like," she stammered, dismounting hastily, grabbing for something, anything to cover herself. Tom fumbled beside the bed, his apologies a bumbling mess of nonsense. I didn't need answers, the scene spoke for itself. My mind raced, every late night, every unexplained absence, every whisper of intuition I had pushed away surged back in a tidal wave of anger. Turning on my heel, I left the room, their pleas trailing behind me. This was not just a one-time lapse, it was a serial betrayal. As the door slammed shut, sealing them in their shameful tableau, a cold clarity settled over me. Revenge, a concept I never thought I'd entertain, now pulsed through my veins. The next few weeks were a blur of lawyers, arguments, and moving boxes. The divorce was swift, I made sure of it. My life was dismantled and rebuilt without Betty, every photograph, every shared item, every lingering scent of her existence purged from my life. As I sat in my new apartment, the silence was a balm to the chaos of the past month. The betrayal had been unearthed, and my revenge, though cold, was complete. Our paths had parted forever, but the sting of her deceit lingered, a scar that time would have to heal. But this was just the beginning. My quest for retribution had only just begun. The world outside buzzes with the usual Friday frenzy, but my mind is laser-focused on a more personal chaos. As the sun sets, casting long shadows across the city streets, I steer my car towards the familiar landscape of my former workplace. Tonight, I'm not just a betrayed husband, I'm an avenger, determined to confront the man who turned my life upside down. I park outside the sprawling office complex, the setting sun glinting off its glass facade. My heart beats a relentless rhythm, fueled by a mix of dread and determination. As I walk through the revolving doors, the cool air of the lobby does little to soothe my heated thoughts. "James, what are you doing here?" The receptionist, a young woman named Lisa whom I've always liked, looks up in surprise. "I need to see Tom. Now." My voice is more a command than a request. She hesitates, her fingers hovering over the keyboard. "He's in a meeting. I can tell him you're here." "No need." I cut her off, striding past her desk towards the elevators. My presence in the building after hours isn't unusual, but tonight it's for a reason far removed from work. Reaching Tom's office, I don't bother knocking. The door swings open to reveal him, mid-conversation on the phone, his expression turning to shock as our eyes meet. I have to call you back, he mutters, hanging up abruptly. James, this isn't a good time, he starts, standing up, his voice unsteady. It's the perfect time, I snap, closing the door behind me with a click that echoes ominously in the room. Look, what happened with Betty? Don't. I raise a hand, stopping him mid-sentence. Don't you dare say her name like you're innocent. You knew she was married. He looks away, the guilt written all over his face. It was a mistake. I never meant to hurt you. A mistake. I laugh bitterly. You call sleeping with my wife a mistake? You've ruined everything, Tom. We were both unhappy in our situations. It wasn't just me, he retorts, his voice rising in defense. Unhappy. The audacity of his words fuels my anger further. You think this justifies your actions? Destroying a marriage? There's a knock on the door. Is everything okay in there? It's Lisa, her voice laced with concern. Fine, I call out, not taking my eyes off Tom. We're just finishing up. Tom runs a hand through his hair, looking defeated. What do you want from me, James? Justice, I state plainly. I want you to suffer as I did. I want your perfect little world to crumble. And how do you suppose that happens? His defiance has faded, replaced by a resigned curiosity. I smile, a cold, humorless curve of my lips. Oh, you'll see. Just know that I'm not through with you. Not by a long shot. With that, I turn and leave his office, my steps heavy but purposeful. As I exit the building, the cool evening air feels like the first breath of freedom in weeks. The confrontation, though intense, is just the beginning. Tom and Betty will learn that betrayal comes with a price, and I am here to collect. The early morning sun casts a pale light through the blinds of my new apartment, a stark contrast to the darkness swirling inside me. Today's plan is clear in my mind, etched as sharply as the betrayal that fuels it. It's time for the next step in my campaign of retribution, a step that involves more than just the lovers. Sitting at my kitchen table, I power up my laptop and start digging through social media and public records for connections that link Tom to his professional and personal life. Information is power, and today, it's also the weapon I wield. After a couple of hours, I strike gold, a thread linking Tom to a major client, suggesting not just professional interactions but a hint of personal involvement too. A smirk plays on my lips as I draft an anonymous email packed with insinuations of unethical behavior, careful to let the implications do the dirty work. Before I hit send, my phone buzzes. It's a message from a mutual friend of Betty and me, probably unaware of the recent seismic shifts in my personal life. The temptation to ignore it is strong, but a plan forms. Perhaps there's another angle here, another way to spread the chaos. Hey, we're all shocked about you and Betty. Can we help? The message reads. I type back, can we meet? There's a lot you don't know. Hours later, I find myself sitting across from our friend, Mark, in a quiet corner of a local coffee shop. His concern is genuine, but all I see is another pawn in my revenge. Betty wasn't who we thought she was, I begin, keeping my voice low. And Tom, he's involved more than anyone knows. Mark leans in, his eyes wide. What do you mean? I feed him bits of truth mixed with lies, painting Betty and Tom not just as cheaters but as manipulators, hinting at deeper deceits and professional backstabbing. Mark's horror grows with every detail, and I know he'll spread the story. Rumors are wildfire, once lit, they burn uncontrollably. I had no idea, Mark mutters, shaking his head. I'll definitely keep a distance. And, I'll let the others know. We don't need that kind of drama. Thanks, Mark. I just want to prevent more harm, I say, a false sincerity coating my words. Leaving the coffee shop, I feel a surge of adrenaline. Not only is my revenge plan set in motion professionally for Tom, but socially too. By the time I get home, the email to Tom's client is sent, and the rumor mill is churning. Later that night, as I scroll through responses to the anonymous tips and watch discussions flare up online about Tom's integrity, a sense of satisfaction washes over me. This is the price of betrayal, the unraveling of life thread by thread. However, the thrill is short-lived, replaced by the emptiness of the path I've chosen. I stare out the window at the city below, wondering if revenge is enough to mend a broken heart. But there's no turning back now. I've woven a web that ensnares not just those who wronged me but also myself. With each action, I step further into the darkness, driven by a need for retribution that seems to grow with every silent, lonely night. The intrigue of what I'll do next, and the fear of how far I'll go, keeps even me guessing. The city is cloaked in darkness as I drive through the empty streets, the final act of my revenge meticulously planned. The last few weeks have been a crescendo of calculated moves, and tonight, everything comes to a head. The air feels charged, heavy with the impending storm of my own making. My first stop is Tom's house. It's late, and the neighborhood is quiet, bathed in the soft glow of street lamps. I've learned from a well-placed source that he's hosting a party, a celebration of a new deal at work, ironically the one I've just sabotaged. I park a block away and slip into the shadows, making my way to his backyard. The muffled sounds of laughter and music filter through the air, a stark contrast to the silence of my resolve. Peering through the French doors, I see Tom, ever the charming host, unaware that his world is about to collapse. Slipping inside, I blend into the crowd, a ghost in my own life. I make my way to a side room where Tom's office lies. Earlier today, I planted cameras here, ready to capture the evening's events and broadcast them to every guest's phone at the right moment. As the party hits its stride, I send the signal from my phone. Screens light up around the room, and a hush falls over the crowd as videos of Tom's less savory business dealings play out. The murmurs start low, filled with disbelief and anger. Tom rushes to his office, pushing past the guests. I follow, closing the door behind us, the sounds of the party dimming to a background buzz. "What the hell is this, James?" Tom's face is pale, his eyes wild with panic. "Justice," I reply calmly. "You took everything from me. Now, I return the favor." "You've ruined me," he hisses, his composure crumbling. "That was the point," I say with cold precision. Before he can respond, I step outside, leaving him to his ruin. The last sight I have of Tom is him surrounded by former friends and colleagues, their faces etched with judgment. The night is still young, and my plan is not yet complete. Driving to Betty's house, the weight of my actions begins to settle in, but there's no turning back. Betty opens the door, her face drawn and tired. "James, what are you doing here?" "To end this," I say, my voice devoid of emotion. "I know I hurt you, but what you're doing to Tom, to me, it's too much," she pleads. "You thought you could betray me without consequence," I state, handing her an envelope. "This is the last of it. Consider yourself free of me after this." Betty opens the envelope, her hands trembling. Inside, she finds documents detailing her involvement with Tom, fabricated to incriminate her in the professional chaos of his life. Her eyes widen in horror. "This isn't true," she protests. "It doesn't have to be," I say with a shrug. "It just has to be convincing." Leaving her to her despair, I walk away from the wreckage of our lives. The cold satisfaction of revenge is fleeting, replaced by the hollow victory of my actions. As I drive away, the first light of dawn creeps across the sky, marking the end of one life and the uncertain beginning of another. Alone, with the city awakening around me, I realize that in my quest for revenge, I've lost more than I ever gained. The hatred of betrayal has indeed parted us forever, but the cost of such vengeance weighs heavily, a reminder that some victories are as bitter as defeat.